In this video, we're going to go over Chapter 11, Homework Problem 22 from your book. If you'd like to follow along, open the Chapter 11 Homework.xlsx workbook for my courses and click on the Problem 22 Worksheet tab. In this problem, we're going to use a list box in order to choose a fund and then use a VLOOKUP to have it display the correct net asset value and the correct number of shares. But what I've done is I've added data validation to actually show you that you can use data validation much easier than the list box. So let's start with the list box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click that developer tab. And again, if you do not see the developer tab, go to File and then Options. Click Customize Ribbon. And then on the right hand side, make sure that developer tab is checked and then click OK. And then you should see that developer tab. So now we're going to click Insert, and our list box is on the top row, the fifth one in where it says List Box Form Control. So just click it, and then we're going to drag it out kind of in this area, but we're not going to worry about the size and position too much. Now we have to put in the list. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drag this away from the box a little bit so we can do our cell link, and then we'll drag it back in a little ways. But I also want to point out something about the cell link once we're done. So I'm going to click the Properties button in the Controls group, or hover over, right click, and choose Format Control. Either one gets us to the same place. So now our input range, we're going to choose a fund. So our input range is going to be B4 down to B16. And our cell link is going to be cell H4, right under where it says fund. And we want to make sure that they can only select a single one. And if you'd like to get fancy and do 3D shading, you can do that as well. So I'm going to click OK. And once I do, you can see all sorts of funds. But the thing is, remember, with the handles around it, we can edit this, we can change the size, we can move it, but we really can't do anything. We can't choose any of the funds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Away. Now I can choose one of the funds. But now what I'm going to do is, with one of my funds chosen, I'm going to click in cell H4. Now what you're going to notice is that in cell H4, it doesn't give you the fund name with a list box. What it does is it gives you the number from the list box. So if I click on Fidelity Value, it doesn't return Fidelity Value, it returns number 7, which is number 7 on the list, which is why I included the fund number. So to make our VLOOKUP work, we're going to have to include this column 1 that has the fund number. When we use data validation, we won't have to do this at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over my list box. I'm going to right click to get the handles around it. I'm going to hit Escape to get rid of my menu, and I'm just going to drag this out of the way for the moment because I really don't need it right now. So let's use a VLOOKUP to look up our net asset value and our shares. So let's look ahead. If the fund number is column number 1, our net asset value is column 1, 2, 3, 4, and our shares would be column 5. So I'm going to click in cell I4, and I'm going to type equals VLOOKUP, open the parentheses. My lookup value is going to be the fund number, so it's going to be cell H4, type a comma. My table array is going to be cell A4, the entire range, out to F16. Type a comma. For the net asset value, my column number is 4. So fund number is 1, mutual fund is 2, type is 3, net asset value is 4. So for column index number, I'm going to type a 4 and type a comma. And remember, with a VLOOKUP, always remember to either type false or to double-click false to get an exact match. And I'm going to close up my parentheses and hit enter. So now I've been able to look up my net asset value for fund number 7, 69.92, and if I choose fund number 5, it goes to 12.68. Now to get practice with our VLOOKUP, I'm going to do the same thing for the number of shares, which is going to be column number 5 instead of column number 4. So I'm going to type in cell J4 equals VLOOKUP, open the parentheses. My lookup value is the fund number, cell H4, type a comma. My table array, A4, down to F16, type a comma. This time my column index number is 5, type a comma, and I will double click false, get an exact match, close up my parentheses. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over my list box. I'm going to right click, get the handles around the edge, hit escape to get rid of the menu, and I'm just going to drag it back here so it hides the fund number and kind of size it a little bit. And now when I click away, somebody can use this list box to choose one of the funds and have the net asset value and the shares come up automatically. Now this is not part of the homework problem, but we can actually do this a lot more easily with data validation than with a list box. And we won't need that column A. So what I'm going to do is in cell H10, I'm going to click Data. In my Data Tools, I'm going to click Data Validation. I can either click the button or click the down arrow and then choose Data Validation. So for my data validation, I'm going to allow a list. And the source of my list is going to be B4 to B16. And I click OK. Now the benefits of data validation is, number one, I don't have that silly box that I have to deal with, but it actually returns the name instead of a number. So you can see in the cell, it actually returns the name of the fund and not a number, so I don't need that silly column A. Now let's put in our VLOOKUPs, and let's do it in such a way that all I have to do is change the column number for the shares. Now remember, if we're starting with column B, our net asset value is the third column because we're only going to be doing this range. So in this range, our net asset value is column 3 and our shares are column 4. So when the net asset value equals VLOOKUP, open the parentheses, the lookup value, I'm going to click cell H4, but now I'm going to use my F4 key. So I'm going to change that to $H, $10, so when I copy it to cell J, to cell J10, it will still look up H10, it won't change it to I10. Now I'm going to type a comma. I'm going to select my table array. Now this time I start from column B because it has to look up the leftmost column. It's not returning a number, this time it's returning a name. So now I'm going to select the range B4 to F16, and I'm going to lock that down as well. So F4. Now I'm going to type a comma. Now before I type the comma, in the range that I have just chosen, in that purple range, net asset value is the third column. So I'm going to type a comma, and then just type the number 3, and then type a comma, and now I can just type the word false, close up the parentheses, and hit enter. And we can see that for Fidelity Small Cap Independence, it has a net asset value of 19.02, and that is correct. Now, because I've used those absolute cell references, I can copy the formula out to column J. And of course it gives me the same answer, but if I double click and just change the column number from column 3 to column 4, because now there's no difference. It's the same lookup value, the same table, but just a different column. So I hit enter, and I have now been able to create my little worksheet here where somebody can just choose the fund name and have it display the net asset value and the shares, either using the list box or using data validation.